Continuing my review of My Hero Academia, this is probably going to be the best episode yet in this season, as I think it is very good from a storytelling point of view and a very good thing for going forward in the overall story of My Hero Academia. So let's go ahead and get into this review. Oh, and also before we get started with this video, 2 of my videos got copyright claimed, so I had to re-edit those to make sure that the footage was very limited in those, so I'm not using that much footage from the actual episode in this video. I just don't want to get claimed. Other than that, enjoy the review. So this episode picks up right after the previous episode where basically Lady Midgaunt basically gave them the information where All For One is located after Deku defeated her, and she also had to be a human bomb for All For One once she was given another quirk. So they all meet up at this one location and they try to ambush him, only to find out he's not there. It turns out that All For One is a little bit of an a-hole and basically gave Lady Midgaunt a fake address. That way, if she did get caught and she did explode, they would get no info on him or whatsoever. And he begins to taunt Midoriya over and over again. Of course, this pisses off Deku, and right before he explodes the building, which I don't know why that was All For One's plan to lead him out there just to blow it up, because you know that they're pro-heroes with him as well. I mean, they're gonna get out of that explosion, but it was just his way to basically give him the middle finger before he leaves out and basically let him know, you know, you ain't nothing. So this ultimately leads the heroes to regroup and have a discussion with each other about Deku and his All For One and whether or not they should reveal it. Wait, did I just say All For One? I meant One For All. Jesus Christ, it's so hard. This idea was brought up by Mount Lady, but is quickly shot down by Endeavor, as it turns out Death Arms, who's been around since the beginning of My Hero Academia, has essentially retired as a pro hero. Multiple heroes have been retiring because all the bad publicity with heroes, all the pressure, and all the amounts of villains, they can't handle it anymore. So ultimately, they don't want the same thing to happen to Deku. They don't want them going after him because he's the one that All For One is after. So essentially are doing this to protect him and not expose his secret, even though I'm pretty sure it's going to get out there eventually, but still, they want to do that. Then All Might calls up Endeavor in the middle of the meeting and informs them that Midoriya had easily beaten another hired gun from All For One. Easily has him strung up like a puppet. All Might looks at Midoriya and begins to plead with him to make sure that he eats something, but Midoriya ultimately brushes off All Might, stating that he is fine and that he can handle all this by himself. All Might looks at this moment and reminds himself of Night Eye when he begged him to keep going and to finally rest. But ultimately, there's nothing All Might can do in this situation, considering the fact that he's powerless. So he pleads with Midoriya to please eat, to please wait, but ultimately, he brushes off the person that he admires the most. And All Might falls to the ground, trying to catch him, but this was such a sad moment to look at, to see how far Deku is straying from the hero that he wants to be. And he's becoming the hero that he thinks that he needs to be at the time, which is just not the case, and it's a very heartbreaking scene. Before I saw this episode, thanks to the internet, I saw this image of Deku going around everywhere, which I thought was one of the most cool looking images in My Hero Academia, and ultimately the episode pulls it off as Midoriya is all run down looking and he turns into Dark Deku, which I think is one of the coolest looking things in the series, and they recreated the shot very, very well, and the atmosphere that comes with the shot. You hear civilians talking about Deku like he's some sort of creature. They refer to him as an it at times, and sometimes they say that he's so messed up looking. You can see the claws forming on his gloves because he's so run down. They say that he doesn't even look like a hero at all, and they pulled it off in this show. he doesn't look like a hero anymore. He's all run down. He's exhausted. He's tired. He's going off of just rage and wanting to make everyone smile again. And ultimately, this is just not the way for him to go at all. He's terrifying people. There's even a part where he tries to help civilians, but they're so scared of him that they run away from him. He's scaring people. Ultimately, it's not like he's a villain. He has really good intentions, but he's just going about it the wrong way and not really caring about himself or what happens to himself. So ultimately, he runs into another hired person from All For One dictator who can control multiple people at the same time, and he's exhausted. He doesn't have the strength to keep fighting him. He's so exhausted. He's even becoming delirious. So ultimately, yeah, he does not win that fight against Dictator. The people swarm around him and he just lets them beat up on himself. He can't think of anything. He can't do anything. He's too exhausted to do anything. And this Dictator design, I gotta say, is actually pretty okay. It's not my favorite design in the series, but it definitely reminds me of like a Hunchback from like a Disney movie. And ultimately, this is getting terrifying for Deku, considering the fact that he can't do anything. And he ends up having to be saved by his class 1A. Ultimately, it is Bakugo that ends up saving his life and ultimately revealing that, yes, Bakugo is classified in the classification of being part of his friends. And basically, they plead with him to come back with them to class, as the principal said it was okay for Midoriya to come back to class 1A. And I thought that was just a really cool moment. And finally, class 1A has a moment to finally chat with Midoriya and basically tell them, hey, you know, it's cool for you to come back, but ultimately, you know what's going to happen. He rejects the notion and ultimately leads to Bakugo doing probably my favorite line in the episode, where he starts clapping and mocking Midoriya, saying that, oh, look at the great successor of One For All and everything, but can you smile right now? And Midoriya cannot answer that question and comes up with some bullcrap excuse saying, in order for everyone to smile, I have to do this by myself. I have to make sure to take them down before anyone else gets hurt. And ultimately, they tell him, hey, you know what? You're either coming with us or we're going to take you by force. Like, there's going to be one of two ways this goes down. And this leads to the coolest shot, in my opinion, in the episode, from an undershot of Deku saying, get out of my way. And basically Bakugo telling him, hey, make us, you all might want to be. And this gets me so hyped for the next episode. Deku versus Class 1A. All in all, a fantastic episode, great callbacks, great storytelling, great visuals, probably the best episode of the season so far. And ultimately, it makes me excited for what they're going to do with the next episode. Is this going to be an on-all fight, or is this going to be another emotional moment stakes for them? So, hopefully you guys enjoyed the review. If you guys did, make sure you guys like, share, and subscribe today to join the Isaiahization.